Over 100 ships and planes have vanished in this stretch of ocean. 5 Navy bombers disappeared at the same time and were never found. Rescue planes sent to look for them also disappeared. The area has been called the most dangerous place on Earth, a portal to another dimension, a zone where the laws of physics break down. But here is what's interesting: when you actually look at the data, the science behind the Bermuda Triangle is stranger than the myth. And in some ways, it's scarier. The Bermuda Triangle, sometimes called the Devil's Triangle, is a loosely defined region in the western North Atlantic, roughly bounded by Miami, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico. Depending on who draws the lines, it covers between 500,000 and 1.5 million square miles of ocean. The legend really took off in 1964 when a writer named Vincent Gaddis coined the term Bermuda Triangle in a magazine article. Then in 1974, Charles Berlitz published a best-selling book that cataloged dozens of mysterious disappearances and unexplained events. Ships found abandoned with food still on the table. Planes that radioed distress calls and then went silent. An entire squadron of Navy torpedo bombers Flight 19 that flew into the Triangle on a routine training exercise in December 1945 and simply ceased to exist. The story of Flight 19 is genuinely eerie. 14 airmen took off from Fort Lauderdale Naval Air Station on a clear afternoon. The flight leader, Lieutenant Charles Taylor, became disoriented and believed they were over the Florida Keys when they were actually over the Bahamas. His compass malfunctioned. He flew the squadron east when he should have flown west. Radio transmissions became garbled. And then silence. A Martin Mariner flying boat sent to search for them also disappeared. 13 men on the rescue plane, gone. 27 men total, vanished in a single afternoon. That's not myth. That happened. The question is why? In 1975, a librarian named Larry Kusch did something that nobody else had bothered to do. He actually checked the facts. He went through every single case cited by Berlitz and the other Triangle authors and cross-referenced them with original reports, weather records, Coast Guard data, and newspaper archives. What he found was devastating to the myth. Many of the mysterious disappearances had mundane explanations that had been left out of the books. Ships that vanished in calm seas had actually been caught in hurricanes. Planes that disappeared without a trace had, in fact, left plenty of traces that nobody bothered to mention. Some of the listed incidents didn't even happen in the Bermuda Triangle. They occurred hundreds or thousands of miles away and were included anyway. And here is the most important finding. Lloyd's of London, the world's largest insurance market, analyzed shipping losses worldwide and found that the Bermuda Triangle does not have a statistically higher rate of disappearances than any other comparable stretch of ocean. The Triangle sits on one of the most heavily trafficked shipping and flight routes in the world. More ships and planes pass through it, so more ships and planes have incidents in it. Per vessel, it's not more dangerous than the North Sea, the Sea of Japan, or the Mediterranean. The myth, in Kusch's analysis, was built on sloppy research, selective reporting, and outright fabrication. Berlitz's book was essentially fiction marketed as fact. But don't close this video yet, because the debunking isn't the whole story. There are real phenomena happening in this part of the ocean that science can actually explain, and some of them are genuinely terrifying. Subscribe to Mind Trap for more deep dives like this. Hit the bell. Now let's talk about what's actually going on. Even though the Triangle isn't statistically more dangerous, there are real environmental factors in this region that can and do cause serious problems. And some of them are genuinely fascinating. First, methane hydrates. The ocean floor in parts of the Bermuda Triangle contains massive deposits of methane trapped in ice-like crystal structures. When these deposits are disturbed by seismic activity, changes in pressure, or temperature shifts, they can release enormous volumes of methane gas in a sudden eruption. Laboratory experiments have shown that water saturated with methane bubbles loses its density. A ship floating on water that is suddenly 30% methane bubbles will sink like a stone, instantly, with no warning. The water literally stops being able to support its weight. In 2015, researchers found massive craters on the ocean floor near Norway up to half a mile wide formed by methane blowouts. Similar geological formations exist in the Caribbean. Could a sudden methane eruption have sunk ships in the Triangle? It's physically possible. Second, rogue waves. For decades, sailors reported encountering impossibly large waves, walls of water 100 feet tall that appeared out of nowhere. Scientists dismissed these as exaggeration until satellite data proved they were real. The Bermuda Triangle sits at the confluence of several ocean currents: the Gulf Stream, the North Atlantic Current, and Caribbean countercurrents. When these currents collide with wind patterns, they can generate rogue waves capable of snapping a cargo ship in half. Third, electromagnetic anomalies. The Bermuda Triangle is one of only two places on Earth where true north and magnetic north align, meaning compass variation is zero. In every other location, navigators must account for the difference between magnetic and true north. Historically, inexperienced navigators entering the triangle might not realize their compass was giving them true readings instead of the magnetic readings they were accustomed to, causing them to fly or sail off course by significant margins. This is almost certainly what happened to Flight 19. Fourth, waterspouts and microbursts. The warm Caribbean waters generate extreme weather events at an unusually high rate. Waterspouts, essentially oceanic tornadoes, are common and can appear rapidly with little warning. Microbursts, sudden and violent downdrafts of air, can push a small plane into the ocean in seconds. So the Bermuda Triangle isn't a portal. It isn't cursed. It isn't haunted. But the ocean in that region is a convergence point for some of the most powerful natural forces on the planet: methane eruptions, rogue waves, competing currents, extreme weather, and navigational quirks that have been confusing sailors for centuries. The real mystery isn't supernatural. It's that we share this planet with forces that can erase a ship or a plane so completely that we never find a single piece of wreckage. The ocean floor in parts of the triangle is over 27,000 feet deep. That's more than 5 miles of water. We've mapped the surface of Mars in higher resolution than we've mapped the bottom of our own oceans. There could be dozens of shipwrecks, hundreds of lost planes, sitting in total darkness on the abyssal plain, and we'd never know. We didn't solve the mystery of the Bermuda Triangle by proving nothing was happening. We solved it by discovering that what's happening is entirely natural and far more powerful than any supernatural explanation. The ocean doesn't need magic to be terrifying. It just needs to be itself. The next time someone tells you the Bermuda Triangle is a myth, tell them they're half right. The supernatural version is a myth. But the real version, methane eruptions, rogue waves, 5-mile deep water that we've never even looked at, is a reminder that the planet we live on is still largely unknown to us. Subscribe to Mind Trap. We separate the myth from the reality, and the reality is always more interesting. I'll see you in the next one.